This tutorial we're going to cover how to work with inventory and staging on a sales order. Now typically we'll come into, let's say you have an order that's ready to be shipped out, so you want to get it staged or even check the inventory. And we're going to do that as though we're the shipping department. We'll come under shipping and receiving. And here we can search for an order either by a customer name, a job name, or an order number. So if you know the customer name, you can select it from the list and then click Get Customer Orders. This will pull up all the orders that are for this particular customer. When you see the order number that you're looking for, just double click that row. So you can see this is the order number, the customer, the ship to information, or the job. This is the total number of items, the quantity total of items that are showing on the sales order. And this shows how many have been marked to be shipped, which is 0, and the balance left to ship is 91. So when you see the order you're looking for, just double click it. We're going to take this one here. This particular order did come from a Door and Hardware schedule, so it was sent over. So again, when the sales order opens up under shipping and receiving, everything is grayed out except for printing and some other fields that you can't make changes to. And that's to prevent any, typically the salesperson is the person that would go in and make any changes to the sales order. The only thing the shipping department can really do is mark items to be shipped and staging and inventory locations, things like that. So we'll go under the Product Information tab. This is what's on the sales order. This is the quantity ordered. These are the items that have been ordered. See, we scroll over and see other information on here. And these items also happen to have, when they came over from the Door and Hardware schedule, it included tag numbers. And you'll notice some of these tags, they have a number then with parentheses. What that is, this first row is hinges. Now the reason that, one thing we'll pull up the Door and Hardware schedule. This is where that sales order came from. You see that order number, 9284. And again, there's the tag number. You have a tag number 1, parentheses, 3, close parentheses. What that means is there's a quantity more than one. For example, hinges. There's 3 hinges per door. So unless it's an 8.0 door, then it's going to say 4. So this is the quantity needed for that tag number. This will help you when you're pulling these and you're marking the tag number. You'll know how many need to be included for that tag number. And give you another example. Here's a door with a pair. So there's 6 hinges for that opening. And you notice the next door stop, the next item, there is no parentheses. That's because there's only a quantity of 1. So it only shows when there's a quantity greater than 1. Another example. Here's that paired opening, so we've got 2 stops, so it has a quantity of 2. So this is done for you automatically. And that's how it's sent over here to the sales order. Now if you're manually filling in a sales order and you're using the notes section right here, if you're entering a note, that would kind of help you out. That might be something you can use. If you have another way of doing it, it's strictly up to you. But this is how it's going to come over from a Door and Hardware schedule. So you'll know how many for that particular tag number that you're going to require. Okay, so once we're in under the product information, we can come under here under the ship column, and I can type in whatever I want to type in on however many I'm going to ship out. Just put that back to 0. Or if everything is going to ship, you have a quantity over here. if everything is available, now this is test data. We don't keep it up to date. So hopefully your database or your orders will not look like this. So you can see there's negative numbers. And the reason for that is there's for these stops, there's a quantity of 60, I guess, on the shelf. There's 0 on order, no purchase orders. And there's 118 on total on sales orders. So that makes a quantity available of minus 58. So if there's not enough available to ship, then you can't really put anything in the ship column here. Because even though you have 60 on the shelf, they're already committed and they may have already been staged on different sales orders. So keep that in mind when you're filling all this information in. Now, if everything was available, one thing I can do is just check this box here. It says check here to mark all items shipped. And that went down and just copied everything here automatically into this column. Now, we're going to be updating that so that if there's nothing available, it's going to leave that at 0. But you can see right now, just fill everything in. But we will be making that change. So we're going to now nothing. Even though I filled that in, it hasn't been saved. I would have to come down here and click Save Order to save those quantities that I've entered here. But we're not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to close this. Now it knows I made a change. It's telling me if I want to save it, and I'm going to say no. So I'll close the order and let's reopen it back up. So you can see everything's set back to 0. I could have manually done that too, but we're going to do everything under inventory and staging, including the quantity shipped. So I'm going to come under here. And when I do, you notice there are no products. That's because this first box is checked. It's typically checked because you can come under here, set the ship quantities, save it, and then go to inventory and staging. Just another way of doing it. Now, since I didn't do anything under product information, I'm going to uncheck this box. Now you can see it pulled in everything, whether it has a ship quantity or not. Okay, so real quick, this is the part type. It's an inventory part, the category type, hinges, stops, closers, locks. The part number here, the manufacturer, quantity ordered, the quantity we're going to be shipping out, how many have been shipped to date, how many are available to ship out, and this is the inventory information, inventory location, inventory row, building row, section, and shelf. So if I can do inventory here if I like and get this information filled in. And there's different ways you can do it. So let's take these stops. So if I want to enter the inventory location, I'm going to come under this inventory box and put in the location for this inventory. Looks like everything's typically in 2 for hardware, so I'm going to say building 2. Now if you only have one building, and that's never going to change, you can leave that blank. You don't have to put anything in here. That's all up to you. So let's put in a row. Say all this hardware is in the same row, so we're going to stick with row 5. And section those might be letters. Looks like we're using letters. Now typically I try to keep these all in caps so it's easier to read the letter. So you can lock the caps lock on your keyboard so that every time you type, it automatically types in caps. So let's say the section for, we're going to do these stops. The section might be Instead of C, it might be D. So we're going to type a letter D in there, and the shelf might be 1. So what I can do now is I can click Update Inventory, and it's going to take this information, enter it here into the grid for me. But I need to select either the row that I want to update by checking this box, or I can double click this row and it'll open up. Now if I don't do anything, if I click Update Inventory, it's going to tell me that there were no parts selected to update. So I need to come back, say OK. So I need to check this box here. This is the item I want to update for inventory, and I'll click Update Inventory. You notice right now I can't enter ship or ship to date. You can never change. That's going to be what it is. But I can't make any changes to the ship quantity. There's only one way I can do that, and I'll show you in a second. So I'll go ahead and click Update Inventory. So you can see it copied the data in here for me. It unchecked the box. Now keep in mind, nothing is saved. All it did was update this grid. If I do anything, if I close a sales order, if I change tabs even, if I go to product information and then come back to inventory and staging, you can see the data's gone. You need to come down here after you make your changes here and click Save Order. Now you can click this as often as you like to do it in stages to make sure you don't lose anything. You don't want to be working in here for 15-20 minutes and then change something. Just go ahead and click Save Order to save whatever changes you made. Now another way you can update the inventory location is I can double click this row anywhere. Just double click it. You can see it opened up here. It tells me the quantity ordered, the part number. It even brought up the order note. That's this column right here. That order note is from this product information tab right here, which is in this column, which is being used for tag numbers. So it's opened up now you can see I can put in the quantity shipped because I double clicked the row that I'm looking for. These are the stops. That's this item right here. And there are 13 ordered. So I can type anything I want in here. If I'm only shipping 6, I'll put in 6. But keep in mind, there's a negative number available. So I really can't do anything with ship. It won't let me save that. So I'm just going to leave that empty for right now. And what we're going to do is update the inventory location for these stops. So let's say it's the same building, 2. It's going to be row maybe 2 for stops, and section A, and maybe shelf 1. Now, one thing you can do, now this, like for large items, this can come in handy. Let's say for doors. You could have the same size door, but it's taking up 2 shelves. So it's going to be the same building, row, and section, but it's taking up 2 shelves. So I can put 1, 2, and I can do that for any one of these fields. So that's always going to tell me that the inventory location is taking up 2 shelves. So we're going to leave this as 1 because stops don't take up typically 2 shelves. And now I can click Update Inventory. Okay, apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened. So you can see that copy that data down here for us. All right. Now, typically, again, nothing's saved yet. You can take care of your inventory through this form. As you just do it as you go, if you like, to establish all of your inventory locations for all your products as you use them. Now, once it's saved, that's always going to be there. So it will come up on the next sales order automatically. because inventory is typically a permanent location that you always put those products whenever they come in for inventory, for stock or whatever. Now, it can change. If for some reason these stops are moved to let's say a different shelf, all I have to do is double click it. I'll change the shelf that it's on now and click Update Inventory. And now when I save it, it's going to save this as the new permanent location for that part. So keep that in mind. Now, all this can be done, again, through the inventory control as far as inventory locations. Now, that's covered under another tutorial, but you might want to take a look at that if you want to get your inventory updated, including how many you have in stock, things like that. Okay. Now, in addition to this available column, if you recall over here, now I'm going to change tabs. We're going to lose that, but that's okay. Over here, we had some different columns like stock, on order, and committed. You have the option, if you like, to show those on this form also. Right now, all we have are quantity ordered, shipped, and available. You can do that by checking this box, show stock, order, committed. So I'll check that. And you see now we have these columns. So we can look at this and see why some of these numbers are negative, or why they're not a quantity enough to be available. So that these stops, it shows there's apparently 60 in stock on the shelf. There's 0 on order, but there's 118 committed to sales orders. So that's what gives us this negative number here. Now, one thing you can do is take advantage of this Notes tab up here, and you can send a message to the salesperson. Typically, this would be the probably the person in the shipping department who has this sales order open, which is going to be different from the person who actually created it. But you can send a message to that salesperson by checking this box, scrolling down to their name and checking their name. Type a message in here, whatever you want to say, and that's the date of the message, and click Save Note. Now, I've already saved one. It says here that stops are insufficient for this order and need to send to a purchase order. So now the salesperson can come in here, they'll see this note, it'll show up on their timeline under their notifications, and since this is me, we should see this note right here. So now I would get a notification that this note is here. I could double click it, it'll open up the sales order for me. I'll take a look at the note, what it is they're asking me to do, and then take care of whatever the situation is, or creating a new purchase order, whatever needs to be done. So that's how you can, and then they can send a note back to me when it's completed, and then I will get a notification on my copy of Portal Pro right here. Okay, so that's how you can take advantage of this note section. All right, so coming down, we've covered how you can double click and make changes to inventory and location, or staging rather. The next checkbox over here is include components. Now this is checked. Typically hardware does not have components. Hardware is hardware. So it doesn't matter if this is checked or not. It's not going to change anything. Now, if your company works with components, and you can change this, like for frames. Let's in fact open up a sales order. Come back under shipping receiving. And I think I already know the order number. Again, I could search for it if I didn't. Here we go. Here's a sales order with frames and components. So you can see this is a three-sided frame, 2870, 5 3/4 left hand, with the actually 4 components that make up that bundled frame. A head, a hinge jamb and lock jamb, and looks like a bundling charge. Alright, so you can set up Portal Pro where typically this frame, let's come under inventory and staging. We need to uncheck this to bring in all items. So you can see there's that three-sided frame and there's the 3 components. You notice it doesn't pull in bundling. That's because bundling is listed as a service. So it's not something you can put on a shelf somewhere. Now this three-sided frame, it's listed as non-inventory, but it is a physical item that can be put on a shelf somewhere. But it's listed as non-inventory, meaning it's not going to be counted in our inventory. Portal Pro in this instance is set up to count our components as inventory items. And that's what will be counted. These frames will never be counted. Now if you always order your frames in bundles already and you want to count that as an inventory item, that can be changed. It's under administration. If you need help with that, just give us a call and we'll help you out. But that means that you'll know you'll have 2870 left hand, maybe 30 of these in stock. You'll still have components that you can order, but they will not be tied together like this. So if in this case, if you only want to if you leave this checked to include components, then this is going to tell you where you need to go to pull these 3 components to make up this bundled frame. So you can go to each one of these locations, pull that head, that hinge jamb and a strike jamb, bundle them together, and now you can set a staging location for the entire frame. It wouldn't be necessary to set a staging location for the header, hinge jamb and lock jamb because I've already done that with the 3-sided frame. So these are the only fields you would be filling in. You could leave these for the component blank. Okay. See what else I wanted to cover on that. Oh, yeah, something else you can do, or what I meant to do, is to limit these fields, how many items are showing. You could uncheck this, and what it's going to do is remove all the components. Now all we see are the frames and each other item that's on here. So if you want to just work with setting the staging location or inventory locations like that. But again, typically if you're using components, you do not bother setting inventory locations for a 3-sided frame. Okay. Let's go back over here to this sales order with hardware. And let's continue to go down the list here. We've already covered how to include components. So next one is include PO. When I check this box, right now you see there's nothing in here referencing a purchase order. When I check this box, it's going to go through and look at each one of these part numbers right here and job name and look for any purchase orders that have been created for this job and that part number. And it'll pull the data in here for us. So let's go ahead and check the box. This takes a few seconds longer to load because it's checking everything. And now when I scroll over, you can see it shows me the purchase order and the staging information. Now, typically this should not be there. If these were staged, then the received column should have been filled in, but apparently it may have been missed, so we won't bother with that right now. But only one item was marked as staged. Nothing else apparently was received, and nothing was staged. Now, this staging location could be a location you used for that purchase order. We'll cover purchase orders in another tutorial. But what we can do, if we come up back over here, we have another checkbox that says we can set the staging location to the PO location. And this is the staging location here for all of our hardware items. If I check this box, what it's going to do is take this information, as long as it's not blank, and copy it for us automatically over here. So you don't have to bother entering it in. If this is blank, it won't copy anything. So to give you an example, we'll go ahead and check this box. Say OK. You can see it copied over this purchase order staging location, not inventory, but staging location, because maybe this purchase order was staged when it came in. And if you're going to use the same location as where it was received on the purchase order, this is how you can do that. So copy that over here for us. Now we know for staging on the sales order, to pull it and to ship it out, it's going to be the same location as where it was put for the purchase order. Now, if it's going to be different, then we'll have to enter a different location for the sales order. Now, hopefully that all makes sense. Another option we have here is to copy the staging location and make it equal to the inventory location. Maybe you're going to pull directly from the inventory location, and that's where it's going to be staged, and that's where it'll be pulled and to ship it out on a sales order. So you have that option also. I can check this box, and you see it copy the inventory location, which is the permit location, over here for me into the staging location. All right, so typically you're going to be setting a different staging location for these items. So let's go ahead and set some staging locations. The first thing we can do is typically all of these items will be staged. When you stage them, they're typically all going to go in the same location. So you can come under staging, put in your building number, row, we'll just use all the same, let's say 5. Section is letters. Any of these can be letters or numbers. It's all determined by your warehouse. But if I'm using letters, I typically turn the caps lock key on my keyboard so that whenever I do type a letter, it's automatically capitalized. Makes it easier to read when they're in caps. And then the shelf, let's say, is going to be shelf 1. So I want all of my locations to be the same for all these items. So all I have to do is come over and check this box, select all. It checks all the boxes for me. I'll click Update Staging, and you can see it copied all the staging location over here for me. Quantities, that can be done differently. You can't really use the staged quantity field here because the staging quantity depends on how many were ordered and how many are actually available. So I'm going to remove, we've already covered where this available comes from. Let's go ahead and uncheck this box, get rid of some of those fields. All right, so we need staging quantities. A couple different ways you can do it. You have some more check boxes here. You can manually go down and type these in. For example, quantity order, if I wanted 54, 13, or 13, then I can just manually type in the quantities there. Or let's come back over. I'm going to reload this. Give me 1 second. Okay, or staging. I want to fill all this in, say 4. And I can set the staging location for everything by checking select all. And we'll update all these, well, that's inventory. Update the staging locations for me here. The staging quantity cannot be done with checking all these boxes because that's going to be dependent on how many are ordered, how many are available, things like that. So I already showed you how that works. It automatically filled that in. Now for quantity staged, right here, a couple options I have is I have a checkbox here, set ship quantity equal to order and available quantity. So that's for staging. I'm sorry, that's for shipping, which is this column. I can set the shipped quantity with this checkbox, and what it'll do is take this number here, 54, and as long as it's less than the quantity available, it will go ahead and put 54 in this field for me automatically. In this case over here, 13 is greater than a minus 58, so it won't put anything. Now, if this happened to be, say, 5, then it's going to take this number, compare it to this, and it's going to use this quantity because that's all that's available and put it into this field. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to leave everything else at 0 when I check this box. That's for the ship quantity. So you copied 54, 5, that's all that's available. All these are 0 because there's nothing available. So if it's 0 or less, it won't put anything in here. Now again, this has to be saved before any of this data is actually saved to the database. I have another box here that does pretty much the same thing for staging quantities. Now these checkboxes come in handy for large orders. Now again, you can do this manually. Just go ahead and type all the quantities in and then save it. But staging quantity is going to be determined by the ship quantity and the available quantity. So it's going to look at how many are marked to be shipped, and again the available quantity, and it's going to use whatever is if this is less than this available quantity, it's going to use this item right here. In this case they're equal, so it will use the 5. In this case it won't use anything, it's 0. So let's go ahead and check that box. Staging quantity right here. So you can see that equal to ship, this one equals to shipped or available, and the rest are 0. So that's how you can globally fill in these ship quantities. Typically, I don't think you're going to, hopefully you will not be seeing all these negative numbers like you do here. This is my test database, so it's a little bit, works a little bit different than what yours will work in an actual environment. All right. One more checkbox we have here is to show staging only. So if I'm not interested in seeing all this other information, I can check this box, and it's going to remove that. And now all I see are the staging fields, and that's what if I just want to work with that. Let's just kind of reload all these. So you can see now we have, it'd be easier if I wanted to just type in. I can go into each one of these fields, fill them in from my keyboard, and then come down here and click Save Order, and it's going to save all that for me. Okay, the next one we have is a shipping note. You have a couple buttons here to update received note only. And that should actually say shipping note. I'll make that change. So this will be update shipping note only. So that's this field here. And this could be a note where you want to, maybe you're shipping out a quantity that's less than what has been ordered, or you can see how we have all the tag numbers over here, but maybe we're only shipping partial quantity, and I just want to mark the tags that have actually shipped. Well, I can type that tag information in here, and that's what will be saved for that line item. And I can do that either, again, by checking a box here, and then typing in the information, tag, take off my caps lock key, tag. Now what I can do is do Control C from this, from my keyboard, do Control V and type that information in there. Because maybe I'm only shipping out 51 of these. Let's say this is marked as 51. So there's one door that's missing. So now I can take out the tag number that I'm not shipping. So let's just do the first one. Or to make it easier, instead of putting all those tag numbers in there and trying to determine which ones are missing, I could do it like this. We'll say missing tag 1. I'm not going to bother with the quantity. That doesn't matter in this case. I just want to know what tag number are we missing. So I'll update received note only. You can see that filled that in for me here. It shows that we're shipped 51. We're still missing tag 1. So at a later date, I can go back in here and we'll get that one taken care of. You have another button here where you can update inventory, staging, and note. Let's take this item right here. So I'll double click this. And I'm going to stick with this one because this is the only one that has anything available. Let's go ahead and reload that. Okay, so we don't have any notes in there at all. But let's say I want to do the staging location and the quantity staged and the note. I can double click this row to where it opens up here. And now I can put in the quantity that have been staged, say 51, and then I'll put in my note. And now when I click this button, I get this message. And the message is telling me that the quantity staged is greater than the quantity shipped plus shipped to date. Correct this and try again. That's because this is still at 0. So I would have to make sure my shipped quantities are in here first. Make sure it's saved. So one way we can do this is, we already have it updated up here. I'll go ahead and put 51. We'll update inventory. And I'm going to go ahead and save this so that's a permanent save. So now we have that saved. Now let's go ahead and we'll double click this row again. Now we want to do the staging. Let's say 51. I'll just leave that information in there, or I could change it. Okay, so now that I have this row opened up here, there's a quantity of 51. I did save 51 to ship. Now I can go ahead and stage those Let's say 51, 2. And again, if this was multiple shelves, I would just go shelf, comma, 1 and 2. So you can use multiple shelves if you have to. Now over here, I'm going to go ahead and put my note. We'll turn caps lock off. When I'm typing messages, I leave cap locks off because it can be confusing when you see the difference between an O, capital O, and the number 0. So if it's all lowercase, like down here, there's a small O, I know that's not a 0. That's just the way I do it. That's up to you. You may like everything to be in caps. I know some people do, but that's my primary reason for not using caps for everything. Okay, so now I've got my note in here, got the quantity staged. Now I can click this Update Inventory Staging and Note button. And you can see it put everything in here for me, for that row item. Okay, so again, a lot of different ways you can work with this. I think we pretty well covered everything. You can either do it by selecting boxes, either selectively going through. You might have a note, a shipping note you want to put in here, whatever it might be. And that may pertain to this, and this. So now when I click Update Received Note Only, it'll update those rows with my note. So if you got the same note for everything, that's how you can note everything all at once. Now you'll notice too that it overwrote the note I had in here previously. So just be aware of that when you're adding notes, that you could lose something you had in here before, which in this case was missing tag 1. I do believe I've pretty much covered everything. I hope I haven't missed anything. I think I covered that. Show staging only. That just gets rid of like inventory fields. And see, eventually, if you've worked with this long enough and you're start filling in all your inventory locations, this will no longer be necessary other than to know where the items are that you want to pull. But when you're working in this form, it might not matter. You can leave that closed. So next thing we have up here is to print a pick ticket. So when I click this button, I have a couple options here. I'm going to go ahead and click it the way it is. And this is a form that now I can print out if necessary. I can put it on a clipboard, and I can take it out to the warehouse. Maybe I want to fill in the inventory locations for all this, so I can take this form with me. You can see there's the part number, the manufacturer, and the category. If I want to, I can handwrite onto this paper form these locations. I could even do staging if I wanted. Handwrite it in here, and then handwrite the quantity, and then bring it back into the office, and take this printed form and start filling in here. I can start just typing in the information in the fields, whatever it was, and then come down and save it, and it'll save it for me, or into the inventory locations. Now there is a different form that will be printed if you check this box to include PO. So let's go ahead and check that. So now you can see we have the PO information. Now when I click Print Pick Ticket, I also get a row here for the PO, where it was staged for the PO. Not inventory, because the inventory is already up here. This is just the PO staged and how many were received. So that makes it a little bit more inclusive list. So now you can see where it was staged. If you have to move it from the staging location to this new order staging location. All right, I think that might cover it. I think I already covered the different column types: inventory part, non-inventory part, and service parts don't even show up in this list because you can't put those on a shelf somewhere. Category and hinges. That should pretty much cover everything. This is for a sales order. Purchase order, I'll make another tutorial for that. It's going to be real similar, but not quite as involved as what you can do on a sales order. So if you have any questions or concerns, just please call or email, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks.